My fiancée texted me an hour before we were supposed to sign the papers for our new house. "I can't do this. I'm with someone who truly values me." I replied, "Understood." Then I called our real estate agent and killed the deal, forfeiting the $50,000 deposit. 3 days later, her new man was furiously calling me because she was broke and stranded after I legally emptied the joint account we had for the house. I'm sitting on a moving box in what was supposed to be our future. The whole apartment is a maze of them, half-packed, labeled kitchen, living room, master bedroom. The air smells like cardboard and broken promises. An hour ago, I was doing the final walkthrough of our new house, the one we'd been planning for over a year. I was imagining where the sofa would go, how the light would hit the dining room table in the morning. That's when my phone buzzed. It was for my fiancée Jenna. The text was short, brutally efficient. "Leo, I'm so sorry, but I can't do this. I've reconnected with David, and he's shown me what it means to be with someone who truly values me. We're going to build a real future together. I can't sign for the house." David, a wealthy, flashy guy she'd dated before me, the one she always claimed was a superficial jerk. Apparently, his definition of value had become more appealing. I read the text 3 times. The world didn't spin. I didn't feel a wave of nausea. A strange, cold clarity just settled over me. It was like a switch flipped in my brain, from loving fiancé to damage control. The hurt was there, a deep, heavy stone in my gut, but my mind was already calculating the next steps. We were scheduled to be at the title company in 60 minutes to sign the final mortgage documents and get the keys. A future erased by a text message. My first call wasn't to her. It was to my real estate agent, Sarah. "Sarah, it's Leo. There's been a development. We're not signing. The deal is dead." She was shocked, of course. "Leo, what? What happened?" "You'll lose your earnest money, all $50,000 of it." "I'm aware," I said, my voice steady. "It's a personal matter. The engagement is off. There will be no signing. Please inform the sellers." 50 grand. Gone. Just like that. It was a sickening amount of money, a huge chunk of my savings. But tying myself to a 30-year mortgage on a house I was meant to share with a woman who had just detonated our lives? That was a far worse fate. Losing the money was surgery. Staying in the deal would have been a slow, painful disease. My second call was to my lawyer. I explained the situation briefly. He agreed that killing the deal, despite the financial hit, was the only logical move. He told me to document everything. Then I drove back to my apartment. The one where the lease was solely in my name. The one filled with boxes for a life that was no longer happening. I looked at all of her things intermingled with mine, ready for a fresh start. That fresh start was still happening, just not with her. I immediately went to my computer and logged into our shared banking accounts. We had one primary joint savings account where we'd been pooling money for the down payment and closing costs. The bulk of it, about 80%, had come from my own savings and a small inheritance I received a few years ago. Jenna contributed, but her contributions were a fraction of mine. The account held just over $100,000, earmarked for the house. Legally, since it was a joint account, she had as much right to that money as I did. With the house deal dead, that money was now just sitting there, a liability. I didn't hesitate. I initiated a wire transfer for the entire balance into my personal, sole ownership savings account. Every last cent. It was a large transfer, so I knew it might take a day or two to clear, but I had initiated it. She had dissolved the partnership and its purpose. I was simply dissolving the shared financial vehicle for that partnership. Next, the credit cards. She was an authorized user on my primary card, the one with the high limit we used for shared expenses and travel. I logged in, remove authorized user, confirm, done. Her card was now a useless piece of plastic. I spent the next hour systematically untangling our digital lives, changed passwords on streaming services, removed her from my phone plan. It wasn't done out of anger, not really. It was just closing doors. She'd opened the door to another man, another life. I was just making sure all the doors back to my life were firmly shut and locked. I haven't heard a single word from her since the text. No call, no follow-up. Just a single, life-altering message and then silence. She's probably off celebrating her valuable new future with David. She has no idea that the financial foundation she took for granted has just been pulled out from under her. She wanted a future with him? She can have it, but she's starting from scratch with whatever is in her personal bank account. The comfortable safety net she thought she could just leave behind is gone. Now I sit here, surrounded by the ghosts of a future that will never be. It hurts, but there's also a strange sense of peace. The worst has happened. The betrayal is complete. Now the cleanup begins, and I have a feeling it's going to get messy. Update 1. It's been 72 hours since the text that blew up my life. The initial calm has remained, but it's been tested. Thanks for all the comments and messages of support. It's good to know that my logical approach isn't seen as cold-hearted by everyone. As many of you predicted, the fallout has begun. Jenna finally surfaced about 24 hours after her text. She didn't call to apologize or explain. She called because her key didn't work. After securing my finances, my next move was to have the locks on my apartment changed. It's my lease, my space. Her decision to end our engagement meant her residency here was also terminated. The first contact was a series of angry texts from a number I didn't recognize, which turned out to be her sister Chloe. "Leo, what the hell is wrong with you? Jenna is outside the apartment and her key isn't working. She needs to get her things. She's having a panic attack," I replied calmly. "Her things can be retrieved at a pre-arranged time. She is no longer a resident. She can email me to schedule a time for a supervised pickup." This was followed by a frantic call from Jenna herself borrowing her sister's phone. The tone wasn't one of remorse. It was one of pure, unadulterated entitlement. "Leo, open the door right now. This is insane. You can't just lock me out of my home." "It's not your home, Jenna," I said, my voice level. "It's my apartment. You made it clear you were building a future with someone else. That future doesn't include my home. I need my clothes, my laptop, my entire life is in there. This is completely unreasonable," she shrieked. "You'll get your things," I repeated. "Email me to schedule a time. You will be allowed in the entryway to direct movers, but you will not be entering the apartment itself." The line that came next was the one that solidified any lingering doubts I had. "And what about the money? I tried to pay for the hotel room, and my card was declined. Did you cancel my card? You left me stranded with no money." I paused. "The card was tied to my account, Jenna. Our financial relationship ended when our personal one did. As for the money in the joint account, I've moved it to secure the funds, as the purpose for that account, the house, is now void. We will divide the assets legally and equitably based on contribution, not on a 50-50 split of a fund I primarily created." The sound she made was a mix of a gasp and a choke. "You did what? You can't do that. That's my money too. We were saving that for our future." "You chose a different future," I said. "The terms have changed. Have your lawyer contact mine." I hung up and blocked her sister's number. The emails started flooding in from a new address she created. They were a bizarre mix of feigned remorse and furious demands. One minute it was, "I know I hurt you, but I was so confused," and the next it was, "You legally owe me half of that money, and if you don't restore my access to it, I will sue you for everything you have." Then came David, the new man. He called me yesterday. His tone was arrogant, condescending. "Look, man, this is David. I think you need to chill out a bit. Jenna is really upset. You're not being fair to her." "Fair?" I almost laughed. "Your definition of fair seems to be me continuing to fund my ex-fiancée's lifestyle while she's with you." "She needs her money," he said, as if it was a simple fact. "She contributed to that account. You're basically stealing from her. We were going to use some of that to get our own place set up." The audacity was breathtaking. They didn't just want to be together, they wanted me to pay for their new life. Jenna's contributions will be returned to her, minus her share of any shared debts and the $50,000 loss from the earnest money deposit. She co-signed the purchase agreement, so she's equally liable for that loss. After that deduction, her portion is significantly smaller than you seem to think. Any further discussion will happen between our lawyers. There was a long silence on his end. I could practically hear the gears turning in his head as he realized the financial windfall he was expecting wasn't coming. "You're really going to be like that? After everything?" "Yes," I said. "I am. Have a good day, David." I hung up. I spent most of yesterday unpacking the boxes. It felt strangely therapeutic, reclaiming the space, putting my things back where they belonged. The apartment feels bigger now, quieter. I've scheduled her supervised move-out for this Saturday. I hired a third-party moving company and an off-duty police officer to be present, just to ensure things remain civil. It feels extreme, but based on her and David's reaction, I'm not taking any chances. They don't see this as a breakup. They see it as a financial inconvenience that I am maliciously causing. The battle, it seems, is just beginning. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since D-Day. The move-out happened this past Saturday, and it was every bit as dramatic as I anticipated, solidifying my decision to have a neutral third party and security present. Jenna arrived, not with professional movers, but with David and her sister, Chloe. They clearly intended to pack her things themselves, probably to prolong the drama and search for things they could claim were theirs. The presence of the off-duty officer, a calm but very large man standing by the door, immediately threw them off their game. "What is this, Leo? Are you insane?" Chloe spat as soon as she saw him. "This is to ensure a smooth and orderly transfer of belongings," I said, not looking at her, but at the officer. "They are here to retrieve Ms. Jenna's personal items. They will not be going past the living room. My movers will bring any boxes from the other rooms out to them." David stepped forward, trying to look intimidating. "This is ridiculous. We're not going to steal anything." The officer just looked at him, arms crossed, and said nothing. It was incredibly effective. Jenna, for her part, put on a performance. She started crying, telling the officer that I was a cruel, controlling man who had thrown her out with nothing. She pointed at my television, our sofa. "I helped pick that out. We bought that together." I had been prepared for this. I had a small folder with me. I pulled out the bank statement showing the television was purchased from my personal account a year before she even moved in. I had the receipt for the sofa, paid for with my credit card. "Your contributions were to the shared life we were building, Jenna, not to my pre-existing assets. Your name is not on a single receipt for any major item in this apartment." Her face turned from tear-streaked victimhood to pure fury. The mask had slipped. She spent the next hour directing the movers I'd hired, arguing over every single item: a lamp, a set of dishes, a rug. Each time I had the documentation ready, it became clear that her understanding of ours was anything she liked and mine was anything she didn't want. The real fireworks started when they were almost done. She demanded access to my home office, claiming she had important documents in there. I refused. I had already gone through the office and packed a box with any mail or papers that had her name on them. As my movers brought the box out, she lunged for it, tearing it open. It was mostly junk mail and old bills. "Where is the folder for the house?" she demanded. "The one with all the closing documents and the bank statements?" "My lawyer has all relevant documents pertaining to the dissolution of our shared assets," I said coolly. This was when David lost his temper. "Just give her the money, man. You're holding it hostage to be a jerk." The officer finally stepped in. "Sir, your only purpose here is to help this lady move her belongings. If you can't remain calm, I'll have to ask you to wait outside." David glared but backed down. After they left, the apartment felt hollowed out but clean. The fight, however, moved to a new front. As many of you predicted, the social media smear campaign began. Jenna posted a long, vague story about escaping a toxic and financially controlling relationship. She claimed I had seized her life savings and left her homeless and destitute, forcing her to rely on the kindness of her true friends. Her friends and family shared it, adding their own commentary about how they never trusted me and always knew something was off. I lost a few mutual acquaintances from my friends list. It was irritating, but I refused to engage. I didn't post a rebuttal. I didn't defend myself. I just sent screenshots of the posts to my lawyer, who added them to our growing file on her behavior. The most satisfying part of the week came from my lawyer. He had sent a formal letter to Jenna's new attorney, outlining our position. It included a full accounting of the joint savings account, showing my 80% contribution. It detailed her liability for half of the forfeited $50,000 deposit. It calculated that after deducting her $25 share of that loss from her initial contribution, she was entitled to a sum that was far, far less than the 50% she was demanding. In fact, it was a relatively small amount. The letter also included a warning. It stated that her ongoing defamatory statements on social media constituted libel, and if they did not cease immediately, we would be filing a countersuit for damages to my reputation. The best revenge, I'm learning, isn't loud. It's quiet, methodical, and legally airtight. She wanted to play games, assuming I was an emotional wreck who would be easy to manipulate. She's finding out that she wasn't dating a pushover. She was dating someone who knows how to read a contract and keeps his receipts. The smear campaign might win her some temporary sympathy, but I have a feeling that when David realizes her life savings are barely enough to cover a security deposit on a studio apartment, her new, valuable future might start to look a lot less appealing. Final update. It has been 6 months since my world was upended by a single text message. The dust has not just settled. It has been swept away, and the air is finally clear. I wanted to provide one last update to close this chapter, for my own sake and for everyone who followed along. The legal battle ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. After receiving the letter from my lawyer, Jenna's social media posts stopped almost immediately. The threat of a defamation suit, backed by clear evidence, was enough to silence her public campaign. Her lawyer sent back a few blustering responses, but the math was undeniable. She was liable for half the lost deposit. Her contributions to the joint account were what they were. There was no secret stash of money for her to claim. After a few weeks of silence, my lawyer received a final terse email from hers, agreeing to our proposed settlement. The check for her portion was sent out, and the legal matter was officially closed. It was, as I'd calculated, a small fraction of what she and David had clearly been expecting. So, what happened to Jenna and her valuable new future? I heard bits and pieces through the grapevine from mutual friends who had tried to remain neutral, but eventually grew tired of her constant drama. David's enthusiasm for his new partner waned almost immediately once he realized she was not his ticket to a comfortable life funded by my savings. The man who was supposed to truly value her apparently valued financial stability above all else. Their plan to get their own place fell apart. They were living with his parents, a situation that reportedly became tense very quickly. The Jenna he knew was the fun, carefree woman with access to my income and home. The reality was a bitter, resentful woman who was furious that her plan had backfired. They lasted less than 3 months before he unceremoniously kicked her out. Jenna ended up having to move back to her hometown into her old bedroom at her parents' house. Her sister, Chloe, apparently washed her hands of the situation after Jenna became a constant source of financial requests and complaints. The last I heard, Jenna was working a retail job at the local mall, constantly complaining on her now private social media about how unfair life was and how I had ruined everything for her. There has been no self-reflection, no accountability. In her mind, she remains the victim. As for me, that initial $50,000 loss was a bitter pill to swallow. But in hindsight, it was the best money I ever spent. It was an exit fee, an eject button from a life with a person who saw me not as a partner, but as a utility. It saved me from a 30-year mortgage, from years of wondering if she truly loved me, from the inevitable, more painful implosion that would have come later. Instead of a house, I invested that money in myself. I took a portion of it and went on a month-long trip to Southeast Asia, something I had always wanted to do, but Jenna had always dismissed as too rustic. It was incredible. It cleared my head and gave me a new perspective. When I came back, I used the rest of the funds as seed money to start a small consulting business on the side, a passion project I'd been putting off for years. It's starting to take off, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm building a future that is truly my own. The revenge was not in the arguments or the legal letters. The revenge was in the silence. It was in my refusal to be drawn into her drama. It was in allowing the natural consequences of her actions to play out without my interference. She wanted a different life, and she got it. She gambled thinking she could have a new man and my money. She lost and ended up with neither. She is living the exact future she built for herself on that day. My apartment is no longer filled with boxes. It's filled with my things, my life. It's peaceful. The ultimate satisfaction wasn't in seeing her fail. It was in my own success and happiness after she was gone. She didn't break me, she liberated me. And for that, in a strange way, I suppose I should be grateful. Thanks for everything, Reddit. It's time to move on.